Okay, first, I just want to say I didn't hate this movie. I see some real polarizing views, opinions about this movie. And some people are like, oh, The Last Jedi is the worst Star Wars movie. Disney's ruined my childhood. I hate this movie. And then on the flip side, some people saying, I love it. It's so different than any other Star Wars movie. It's the best Star Wars movie ever made. I don't agree with either of those opinions. I just thought it was okay. The main thing that I really disliked about this movie was the way Luke was portrayed, especially in one pivotal scene of this film. To be clear, Mark Hamill's acting, what he was given in this film to work with, was excellent. Best actor in this entire film, followed by Adam Driver as Kylo Ren and Daisy Ridley as Rey. I just really enjoyed Mark Hamill's performance here. I can still see parts or hints of the Luke that I remember from the original trilogy, especially when he's interacting with R2 and Rey. It's just this one scene where it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The scene was a flashback, and you basically find out that Luke is he is that pivotal point that turned Ben Solo into Kylo Ren. Luke's training Ben, he could sense the dark side within him, and he decides he's going to read his mind just to see what's going on there. And so he reads his nephew's mind and see that Snoke has basically corrupted him already. He's turning to the dark side. And then Luke, in an instinct, decides to light up his lightsaber, and he's looking to kill his nephew. And then he stops himself, and by that point it's too late, because Kylo wakes up and sees his uncle with a lightsaber above him. He's like, oh crap, my uncle's gonna kill me. Screw this. Boom. Brings down a building on top of Luke. Thinks that Luke is dead, decides to hightail it out there. Takes some of Luke's students and kills the rest. And that's basically how Kylo Ren decides, you know what, screw this. I was betrayed by my master. Time to fully go to the dark side and join Snoke. I just like, that doesn't make sense to me at all. The first time you hear this story, the first time you see a backtrack of this story, it's actually Luke's kind of lies. He as a Jedi, he's like semi-lying to Rey, basically saying he went to confront his nephew, went to confront Ben, but that's not actually what happened. And then on Kylo's side, Kylo can only see when he wakes up the lightsaber there, so he thought he saw that Luke was ready to kill him, which is more like the reality was it's more in between. And the fact that Luke's first instinct is to kill his nephew just does not match up his character from the original trilogy. I mean, fear, that's part of the dark side. How would Luke be tempted by the dark side? And like, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. That's the dark side. How is Luke, a Jedi master, reaching that point with his nephew? I mean, it doesn't make sense. In The Return of the Jedi, he could see the faults in his father, but still see the conflict and still want to bring him back to the light. How does that Luke end up like this? I mean, his father killed younglings. Younglings! And even if Luke couldn't see that when he's reading his mind and seeing all the horrible things Darth Vader did as Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader is responsible for killing Obi-Wan. Darth Vader is responsible for killing off so many of his pilot friends. He's responsible for turning Han into a statue temporarily. He's the one responsible for chopping off his own hand. And yet he could still have the forgiveness for his father and want to turn him to the light. But oh, he sees something really negative about his nephew. I mean, honestly, what could his nephew have done at that point under his tutelage? He couldn't have been doing that much evil stuff while still being under Luke's watch. So he probably hadn't done anything much yet. He had probably done nothing at all. It is just what Luke saw of the future that scared him, oh, he's gonna kill what, his 12 plus students? Luke faced off against Palpatine, the guy who did Order 66. Palpatine basically put the Jedi on the endangered species list in the first place. So I cannot see. Rian Johnson would have to personally tell me what it is Luke saw in his nephew to let him lose his focus as a Jedi. I could understand in Return of the Jedi. Yoda told him, you ain't a Jedi yet. You gotta complete your training by confronting Vader. So he went to confront Vader. He wanted to change his father to the light, but when he was in front of Palpatine, that whole conflict, that anger came out. He was tested. And then when Vader read his mind and said, oh, you got a sister? Well, if I can't turn you, I'm going to aim for your sister. Vader pushed the right buttons, got Luke upset. Luke was getting angry, but he confronted his fear and his anger right there and resisted. And I thought that was his turning point to being, hey, I am now a Jedi Master. So to have, 20 some years later, his nephew is the one that breaks him and makes him have fear. Or maybe it was Snoke. Maybe it was Snoke who was also messing with Luke at that point and putting the fear into him. Maybe. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We have to wait for episode 9 now. That leads to the other issue I have. Because he felt so guilty with just having that temporary glimpse of that feeling of to kill his nephew, and then that whole thing happened with his nephew and basically turning his nephew into Kylo Ren, he then decides to exile himself on that island. From the prequels too, I thought this is stupid. When Yoda fought Palpatine and then lost and said, oh, I'm gonna exile myself on Dagobah, I think this whole Jedi exile thing is just stupid. Imagine if Obi-Wan and Anakin decided to exile themselves after Count Dooku kicked their ass. Well, maybe there wouldn't be any Darth Vader, but it's just stupid. It's like, oh, when they're not the top level of the Jedi Order, it's okay if they mess up, but as soon as they're the top ranking, and in Luke's case, the only one, I gotta exile myself once I fail. That's just dumb. I don't get that. That needs to stop, and I hope Rey doesn't do that garbage when she's older. I just hope this exile thing just stops. So that was my semi-rant on the main issues I have with Star Wars The Last Jedi. There are several more plot points that I had issues with this film, such as the forced conflict between Poe and Vice Admiral Holdo, so stupid, led to a mutiny that didn't need to happen, and even before that, sending Finn and Rose on a mission that ended up costing a lot of lives for the Resistance. But hey, what would Finn's story be without that mission? Also didn't like the way Luke died, but I think I understand why it had to be this way, and I'll talk about that more in my next Star Wars video, where I discuss the parts of The Last Jedi that I enjoyed watching. I'm going to watch The Last Jedi one more time before I release that video, just to make sure it wasn't my nostalgia for the original trilogy holding me back from enjoying even more parts of the film. Anyways guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe for more content to come, and see you guys next week.